Good evening, board members, Mr. Gonzalez, and district staff. The time is 5:30 p.m. on this, the 16th day of February 2022, and I call this public hearing of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. The following board members are present.
Frank Castillo.
Alisa Oliveros.
Roberto Ramirez.
Okay.
A quorum is not required for
We're
a
okay.
public hearing.
All right. Let the record show that this public hearing has been duly called and that notice of this public hearing has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 1, open public hearing. Let me state for the record that this public hearing is now open. Moving on to agenda item 1A, and administration will be presenting. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the board, and members of the audience. It is 5:31, and I'm opening up the DEIC meeting. My name is Angelica Sanchez, and I am the DEIC chair. For the record, the January DEIC minutes were emailed to the members and approved online. Today's agenda item is a public hearing as per Texas Education Code 39.306 and 39.362. It is a presentation of United ISD annual reporting of the Texas Academic Performance Report and the PEIMS Financial Standard Report describing the district's educational and financial performance.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Mr. David Gonzalez, and members of the audience. My name is Cristina Casanova. I am the Executive Director for Instructional Accountability. We're here today to talk about the Texas Academic Performance Report. And I just want you to know that before we even begin with our percentages, due to the state of disaster caused by the pandemic, 97% of UISD students learned last year remotely and virtually. And most of UISD teachers delivered instruction from a remote setting. So these numbers that I'm about to present reflect last year's school year.
Okay.
There are 7 sections to the annual report. I'm going to focus on the academic performance portion. It is compiled by TEA for every district and every campus in the state of Texas. It is published in 2 different forms. One is called a dynamic form, which is something that is online and it is constantly changing and reports are being added to throughout the year. And then we also have a PDF version, and it really only includes the major statutory required data points. This is our TAPR for United ISD. This year, due to the pandemic, all districts and all campuses were rated as not rated, declared state of disaster. And we are, for our special education determined status, we do need improvement. And we have realized that, and our scopes also focus on our special education subpopulation, and we are, constantly revamping the scopes in order to meet the needs of these students. For our numbers, United ISD for the 2020-2021 school year, we did have an enrollment of 41,902. I really want to focus on the blue section, which states how we here at UISD were at 97% remote versus the state that was only at 37% remote instruction. So we were primarily, most of our students were at home learning. However, our numbers do reflect that we still did pretty good, very good in reality, based at 97% were at home. For our Hispanic population, United ISD is at 99%, Our economically disadvantaged percent is at 85.3, which is above the state. For our English learners, we are at a 38.1, which we are also above the state. And for our at-risk population, we're at a 62.9. Again, we're also above the state. What you see here are our STAR performance, all grades, all subjects, and we put it at an approaches, meets, and masters. I do want you to note that approaches is meeting the STAR test, passing the STAR test. Any student at meets that scores meets or above is scoring approximately 61 to 78% approximately of the test correct. And then any student that scores masters is performing at 80% correct on STAR and above. So for United ISD at approaches, we were at a 64%. We were a little under the state, but again, we were at 97% remote versus the state that was at 37. There is no comparison when there is that face-to-face instruction and that interaction that the students get with the teachers that they are receiving this year.
Casanova, if I can interrupt, I'm not sure if our board members have that presentation. I don't think they have it in their device.
We don't have it, it's behind us.
Oh,
but
it's right
yeah.
behind them, okay.
But it's the one that was presented to us during the committee meeting? Or it's different?
No.
Okay.
No,
All
it's
right.
different. This is their data from last year.
Okay. Well, I'm paying attention, so.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay, here it's divided by subject. Okay, so we have reading, math, writing, science, and social studies. United ISD for reading at approaches, which I'm really going to go over approaches, was at 67% versus the state at 68%. But again, have to consider remote instruction. And for math is, and we know this, math, our students when were instructed virtually did not do as well remotely. So that is being reflected in our scopes. We are focusing and honing in on math this year, making sure that our students receive that important instruction when it comes to computation. So it makes a big difference when the teacher is there to teach math. So we are focusing on math. We realize that we are at a little bit of a deficit there. But when it comes to writing, to science, and to social studies, we are pretty much right where the state is at, even though we were remote. So again, our focus this year is on math.
I can't see, let's see.
You want me to go back?
Can you read it out? What was the difference?
Oh, you know what, I'm going forward.
Oh, I'm
Hold
sorry.
on.
I'm sorry. There, I think.
Okay, at reading, United ISD was at 67% at approaches, 68% was the state. So 1 percentage point for at approaches for math at 58%, the state was at 66%. So we're not that far behind, but again, United ISD, we are used to beating the region and the state in all subjects, all areas. So we know that we do have to focus in on math. However, we were again at such a high percent learning remotely. The next slide is about our bilingual education, English as a second language. Previously, they were known as English learners. They are now known as emergent bilingual learners, EB, okay? So looking at our 3 programs for our bilingual education, we have the early exit program. We also have the dual language program, and we have our English as a second language program. So looking at our numbers for our early exit, because United ISD has an early exit program, meaning that we try to transition them into the English language within about 2 years. And we know that it is very difficult learning a new language, but we feel that our curriculum is strong, our teachers are strong, and transitioning them early will get them successful in learning the English language and being successful in post-secondary ed as well. So United ISD, we are at a 37. In the early exit program, at approaches, and the state is at 44%. 27% at meets, United ISD, and the state is at 16%. Still kind of comparable. United ISD at the master's level, remember this is at 80% correct, so it is a little difficult. Our numbers are small. We're at a 3%, and the state is at a 6%. Okay? For our dual language program, which we have 15 campuses and 2 high schools. Actually, it's all 4 high schools that are still with our dual language program. We really did very well. So looking at United ISD at approaches, we were at 65%, clearly outscoring the state in our dual language program at a 57% at approaches. At meets, we were at a 34%, and the state was at a 27%. So we outscored the state there. And for our master's level, we were at a 14%, and our master's, the state master's was at a 12%. So we clearly did outstanding in our dual language program. For our English as a second language program, United ISD at approaches was at 37%. The state was at a 43%. For meets, we are at an 11%. The state is at a 17%. And for our masters, we're at a 3%, and the state was at a 4%. But again, most, 97%, were remote learners. Now we're going to look at participation rates. Remember that for STAR, the students had to come in, even though we had 97% at home, in order for them to test with STAR, they had to come in. STAR was not an option at home, okay? Yeah. So even though we were such a high number of at-home learners, we brought in 89% of our students to come and take the STAR test, versus the state at 88%. So we did a very good job. Our campuses called parents. We made sure that we sanitized our facilities, making sure that our community felt safe so that the students could come in to take the STAR test. So, and the students not tested, again, we were at 11% not tested, and the state was at a 12% not tested. So we did extremely well, very well. Attendance and dropout rates. Our attendance rate, again, remote, 98.6, and the state was at a 98.3. So we clearly took our attendance seriously. Our students were logging in. It was a learning process, being that it was a complete full year being remote, but they felt comfortable logging in, and the teachers did a very good job. Our annual dropout rate is at a 0.1%, and the state is at a 0.5. And we always want a lower dropout rate, so here we excelled. And our annual dropout rate for grades 9 through 12 is at a 0.5%, and the state is at a 1.6. Again, UISD, we're keeping our students, we are graduating our students, and that is being reflected in our annual dropout rate. We have graduation rates, our 4-year longitudinal rate. We graduate, and we're proud to say 96.6% of our students. The state is at a 90.3. Students who are receiving a high school equivalency exam, a GED, we're at a 0.1%, and the state is at a 0.4. So we're doing extremely well. Continued high school, because we do have some students that take an additional more than 4 years, we are at a 1%, the state is at a 3.9, and our dropout percent is at a 2.3, and the state is at a 5.4. Now, our foundational high school program, our students graduating with a distinguished level of achievement. Remember, this is an additional math, an additional science, and as well as an endorsement. We are at a 91% of our high school students graduating with a DLA, and the state is at an 83.5. So we're clearly doing very well. Looking at other post-secondary indicators, our college and career and military ready, we are at a 74.7, and the state is at a 63%. For our college ready graduates, we are at a 62.6%. The state is at a 53.4. Our graduates with TSI criteria in both reading and math, we're at a 45.6, and the state is at a 43.2. UISD, we do offer AP exams. So with our AP criteria, remember that is a 3 or better on the AP exam. We are at a 23.3%, again outscoring the state, that is at a 21.1. And the last one is our dual course credits in any subject. Remember, our dual course credits, these students have an opportunity to earn college credit. We are at a 33.7, and the state is at a 24.6. I just, want to note that we are preparing, our systems are in place, and we're preparing our students for post-secondary ed, offering them this opportunity to earn college credit. And you're going to see in a later slide how well are we doing. So,
Casanova,
yes.
could you explain a little bit more about that dual college credit? Use percentages in comparison to what?
In comparison to the state. So in comparison to our graduates with a dual course credits, we have 33.7% of our graduates graduating with at least one dual course credit.
And do you have a comparison between schools, high schools?
I can get that for you, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
But the opportunity for it is at all campuses.
It is at all campuses, just noting that the early college is, we only have it at 2.
Correct.
That they graduate with an associate's degree, but we do have the early start pathways, the gold program as well, that is offered at all 4 high schools. So with those programs, as soon as the student passes the TSI, and we did start a new initiative where all 8th graders are taking the TSI, and once they are college ready, passing the TSI for reading and math, however, math comes later when they're taking the Algebra 2, but we administer the ELAR TSI-2 test to all 8th graders. And that gives them that they are college ready, and if they choose, they can start taking a dual course credit as early as their freshman year in high school.
And I know where Mr. Castillo's coming from. We're on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
I know we would like to have an early college at every high school.
Mm-hmm.
But the opportunity for credits is there. However, is the opportunity to graduate with an associate's degree at every high school?
No.
Okay.
It is only in the early college
Not
with,
yet.
yeah, not.
We're getting there. Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
So working in progress.
I did want to elaborate what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes,
It does go along with just to make sure that all schools are in fact given an opportunity, and all students, exactly my point, right? That everybody has an equal opportunity to get that college credit.
Yes. I know that, I can tell you my personal experience. I have a daughter in high school. She's in the early start pathway. She'll have the opportunity to earn 33 credits, but in addition to those 33 credits, she can also take not a dual course, but she can take a college course in the summer. We work with LC, a summer program, where she can earn additional college credits,
And
not
can she get
affecting her
an associate's for
GPA.
that? Would
Not
she
an
be-
associate. She will not end up with an associate's, but she can end up with over 40 hours if she does all of our early start pathway courses in addition to the summer 1 and summer 2 learning opportunities for her at LC.
There's no way to equivocate those hours to an associate's degree, even though they're not in an early college, or you have to be in an early college to earn the degree itself? Yes, okay.
Go ahead.
A lot of the courses are their basic courses, so yes, the minute that they graduate with those 30 hours, they can either transfer to an associate's, to a college so that they can finish their associates, or even some of the classes can transfer to university, again, so that their time at the university is shorter. 1, 2, the funds that the parents save are tremendous, because
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yes, and then when we look at early college, all of the high schools, we have to make sure that we have the staffing available for that due to the costs of the programs. So we continue to work with that through our HR department.
Yeah, I know Mr. Castillo and I, we have the same goal here, and we're not there yet, but we just want to make sure that we're actively working
We're working
towards
towards it,
that.
Yes.
Sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Other post-secondary indicators, remember when I spoke about the, this slide really focuses on our students, our graduates that are going into either a 2-year college or a 4-year university as soon as they graduate high school. So looking at our numbers, the state is at 38%, our region is at 46%, and UISD is at 50% of our graduates. Half of our graduates immediately, they go into either a 2-year college or they enroll in a 4-year university. And I think it's also due to the opportunities of our early colleges and our early start pathway programs that they are able to earn these hours, that it just makes it easy for them as soon as they graduate, going in and they already have these hours under their belt. The next section, I'm going to talk about some student information, some program information about student enrollment and teachers by program and staff information. So looking at these, this is just a breakdown by grade level. So looking at, remember that pre-kinder and kinder are not required. What is required is first grade, and really it's just kind of like an average. We start going a little bit, pre-kinder, kinder, smaller enrollment, and then first grade we start going up, and we have an average about 3,200 students in every grade level. Our ethnic distribution, and I know I mentioned it in another slide, but the district, we are at a 99% Hispanic, and the state is at a 52.9. For white, we are at a 0.6, and the state is at a 26.5. And our Asian population, we are at a 0.3, and the state is at a 4.7. As well as female and male, it's kind of comparable, 48% female, 51% male. Same pretty much as the state. Looking at our demographics and how they scored, our economically disadvantaged students, this is our student information, we're at a 75.2% eco-dis, and the state is at a 60.2. So we clearly have more students that are economically disadvantaged. For our emergent bilingual students, we are at a 34.9, and the state is at a 20.6. I think also Laredo, it's just our demographic where we're located, we are gonna have a higher number of emergent bilingual students. And way at the bottom, at risk, we are at a 52% of our students are labeled at risk, and the state is at a 49.1.
Can you define at risk, please?
There are several indicators that, I think there's over 10 indicators that for at risk.
Just the top one, maybe.
Probably some of those listed above, right?
No?
Yes.
Just like say.
If a student has been retained, they are labeled at risk. If a student is,
Placement at an alternative
Yes.
school as well?
Okay.
yes, alternative school,
So not
English learners.
economically disadvantaged, would that place them at risk or no? No, okay, gotcha.
So I think
foster care, homeless.
you're already,
Okay.
so this is a whole different row.
Okay,
Well, foster care, we're similar to the state. Homeless, close. Migrant, we're surprisingly similar.
we are very similar in our demographics to the state, other than our Hispanic, our economically disadvantaged, and our emergent bilingual students. For our students in our instructional program, in our bilingual program, I want you to note that we're at a 37.8, which is high compared to the state, but again, we are here on the border, here in Laredo, so our numbers are gonna be a little bit higher. However, look at our gifted and talented. We're at a 14.8, and the state is at an 8.3. So we're doing very well identifying our gifted and talented students. And our special ed students, very comparable to the state. We're at 11.5 and the state is at an 11.3. And then we have the total students with disabilities, looking at the district, and our intellectual disabilities at a 44.1, the state is at a 42.5. Physical disabilities, we're at a 12.2, the state is at a 21.3. Students with autism, 12.7. The state is at a 14.1%. Students with behavioral disabilities, 28.5, and the state is at a 20.6. And non-categorical early childhood, this is our EC below 4 years of age that are special education, we're at a 2.6 and the state is at a 1.5. I do attribute this to our child find. We do want to find the students with a disability early in order so that we can intervene and provide instruction for these students. Yes. It's important to start early. Now here, mobility. If you notice, UISD is at an 11.4 and the state is higher at a 13.8. So our students, they don't leave us, which is great. And then looking, and it is by ethnicity. So our African American, our Hispanic, we're at an 11.2 and the state is at a 7.1. But again, we are 99% Hispanic. It's most every single child, most in UISD is labeled Hispanic. And at the very bottom, student attrition, United ISD is at 11.5, and the state is at a 16.6. What this means, these are the students that did not return to us from the previous year. And I do, predict that possibly next year, due to the pandemic, how our numbers did go down. We did, we did a lot of PSAs trying to recover these students, trying to come back, sent out flyers. Several of them are homeschooled. They came back and said, no, we're not going to go back to school, and I think it was mostly due to the pandemic.
Has it ever been that high? Typically, it's a lot lower.
This is a new indicator.
Okay, because okay. I guess maybe because of the pandemic.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
So that we can track who's coming back. And I just think we're doing a good job, and we just need to continue to make sure that we find our students, putting the information out there, come back. We're doing extremely well. We're safe. Come back to school. Now here we have non-special education rates with special education rates, and these are retentions by grade level. So looking at the district for non-special ed at kindergarten, we are at a 0.2. The state is at a 1.4. Remember, kindergarten is not a required grade level. First grade, we're at a 3.7, and the state is at a 1.9. It is higher, but I can tell you the previous year we were, I think, at a 7.7, so we significantly decreased the retentions in first grade. And I do think that it's that they're learning to read, we're focusing on that grade level, making sure that they can master reading before they go on to the next grade level. Sometimes students take a little bit longer.
The language barrier that
Can
they're
be.
coming in. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Early intervention. Head Start. Go to Head Start. Little plug.
Right?
I was wondering about
Yeah.
that. What is the underreported students?
The underreported students is that we don't know where they went. We don't know if they went back to their home country. we don't know what happened to them. We have only 51 students out of our 40,000 students that are underreported. It is a low percent, 0.2%. The state is also at a 0.2%. I don't know if they went out of the country, out of state, they didn't notify us, we didn't have any record, things like that. Yeah. And the next slide is student information, and this is really class size by grade level. If you notice, kindergarten, first grade, we are comparable to the state, but in our secondary campuses, we are a tad bit higher at a 20.4 students compared to the state that's at 15.7 students in English language arts classes. In our foreign languages, 22.9, the state is at a 17.8. Math, 20.5, the state is at a 16.9. And science, 22.9, and the state is at a 17.9. And social studies, 23.2, and the state is at an 18.3. Average class size.
Maybe that's something we can focus on for math, since that's the area we're going to hone in on. Maybe a smaller class size.
Group.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The next section is going to be presented by Mr. David Garcia, Associate Superintendent for Human Resources.
Good evening, Mr. Garcia.
Good evening. Members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gonzalez, thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is David Garcia. I'm the Associate Superintendent for Human Resources. I'll give a brief overview with regards to staff information. The information is compiled by the state, and it's simply reflective of the 2021 school year. With regards to total staff that is reported to the state or compiled by the state, we have 6,334.1 employees, which signifies 100% of our employee workforce. With regards to professional staff, we have 3,337 or 52% of our workforce compared to the state. Their professional staff on average is 64.3. Classroom teachers comprise 2,590.6 employees of the district. Professional support are 471, campus administration 173, and so forth, down to auxiliary staff and support of 2,308.8 staff members. If you look at the percentages with regards to the state comparison, of course, it's a compilation of over 1,000 school districts, and of course, they're relative to the numbers that we have. With regards to school librarians and counselors, our full-time librarians total 46. We don't have information from the state as a comparison. Part-time librarians, we have 2. Full-time counselors, 105. And of course, part-time counselors, we total 1. Minority staff, total is 6,212.1, or 98.1% of our employee workforce. With regards to teacher ethnicity, you see the breakdown: African-American, 1.8. The majority of our population is predominantly Hispanic, 2,500, a little over 2,500, or 96.5%. It's pretty much reflective of our student population as well. At the state level, the Hispanic population in the education field is 28.4% compared to us because we are a border community. The total number of white teachers by ethnicity, 68, 1 American Indian, 14 Asian, Pacific Islanders, none, and of course 2 or more races, 4. And if you look at the percentages at the state level, it's pretty much relative with regards to that. With regards to the not ethnicity, by gender, we're looking at teachers by sex. Males, 572.4, 22.1% of our employee workforce. And for females, predominantly female, it's 2,018.2, or 77%. With regards to teachers with highest degrees, we have teachers that have no degrees. And of course, that happens in the instructional area where we have skilled areas such as plumbers, electricians, welders, and so forth that provide that service. The state does allow for us to work through a certification process called SOQ, or Statement of Qualifications, where we use wage earning experience in order to retain these individuals. The state will certify them, they'll be compensated, and of course, be recognized as certified professionals in their respective fields that we hire. With regards to bachelor's degree, 1,950.5 teachers, master's degree, 604.5, and those with doctorate degrees, 8. If you look at the percentages, they're pretty relative with regards to that. When we look at years of service or experience, beginning teachers, 47 or 1.8%. At the state level, 6.7. What that does is the number of teachers that we hire come with some experience, or those that do apply with us, and of course we go through the screening process and an eventual employment, and they reflect this particular indicator. Those with 1 to 5 years of experience total 460, 6 to 10 years, 404, 11 to 20 years, 1,003, 1,103.9, almost 1,104. And if we look at the state percentages, they're a little off and they're not quite relative, but at the same time is reflective of the employee workforce that we retain here. The number of people that we have with 21 to 30 years of experience, 485.9 or 18%. And the number of those individuals with 30 or more years of service or experience of 89 or 3.4%. The next indicator shows that the number of students that we have in classroom 16.1, and of course at the state we have no comparison data by percentage. Staff information with regards to campus leadership. Years of experience of principals, 9.4, but those principals that have experience with the district, 9.3. Then, of course, those assistant principals, 8.8, and those assistant principals with the district, 8.8. What that does is our administrative workforce at the campus level is more experienced than those by our neighboring school districts or those school districts in the state. The average experience of teachers is 14.1, and of course, compared to the state, 11.2. Average experience of teachers with the district, 12.4. And this indicator will pretty much answer itself. Oh my goodness, I need to continue here. There we go. The number of years of experience, the indicator is there is 14.1 compared to the state, 11.2, and those with the district, 12.4 compared to the state, 7.2. So we have a more seasoned staff that we retain for the different reasons that individuals stay with us. We are geographically isolated, so in that regards, we do not have that turnover, and you'll see it at the bottom the indicator at the very bottom of the page. The average years of salary by years of service or experience we're pretty much comparable to that of the state. Beginning teachers, 50,221 compared to the state, which is a little higher than that. 1.5 years, we have 53,148, and of course the state is pretty comparable with regards to what we pay, with 6 to 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, and of course over years over the 30-year mark, of course we pay a little bit higher based on the state average. The actual salaries for teachers, 59,386 compared to the state, we're a little higher, and of course in the different areas of assignments, professional support, campus administration, and central office, we're pretty relative with the exception of central administration compared to the state average. You see 96,353 compared to 109,662. And there are different factors that contribute as to why the pay is the way it is. Instructional staff percent is 55.2 compared to the state's 64.6. Turnover rate, this is an incredible number. It's 5.5% with regards to turnover compared to the state's 14%. This is a clear indicator that the district does do something right when it takes care of its employees with regards to benefits, facilities, work atmosphere, pay, and all the different things that pretty much contribute why individuals stay where they are. The majority are homegrown. In some cases, the culture comes in where people, some are educators, make a determination to stay close to family, and those are things related to culture and maybe some other factors. Staff information.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I had a question regarding the turnover rate. Are you defining turnover on an annual basis, or every year you do a new turnover?
It's an annual basis, and this is a turnover rate that is computed by the state on an annual basis. And our turnover rate, if we go back several years on this TAPR report, it will show 2 to 1 or less than 2 to 1 that our turnover rate is significantly lower than the average of the state. The previous reports indicate the same number. And of course, the factors that I've just shared with you are contributing factors as to why individuals do stay.
And I've always heard people say that we have a lot of administration and a lot of higher level positions, but according to the numbers, we're right with the state.
That is correct. And what happens is when we compare ourselves, with regards to what happens in other parts of the state, we're right there or even doing things with, doing more with less. And of course, we do those things based on availability of funding that allows us to be able to provide this necessary service to educate our students.
Absolutely.
With regards to identification of those teachers in bilingual ESL by program, 123.7, career and technology 182, compensatory ed teachers 22.4, GT 230, regular education 1777, special ed 253, and others are none. So when you look at the numbers, our percentages with regards to what we do and where staff is assigned, we pretty much divide that pie of staffing in order to provide the needs of students based on their identified needs. If there's special education, GT, career and technology, and everything that is commensurate of what we do with our student population. And I'm done.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think I jumped.
Good evening, board members. I'm Alessa, for the record, Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and I think I'm going the opposite.
Are you going to do Ms. Benavidez's report? Oh, you still have to go?
No, I'm still trying to get to
Okay.
where we were at, but I'm not sure. Whoops. Okay, sorry, I'm not sure what I did. Let me,
Are we going back to your report?
yeah.
Okay.
My part of the report is to determine the accreditation status. The state sent us a letter at the beginning of the year, or actually beginning of this year, stating that because there was no A through F rating, thank you so much, no A through F rating, that the state would also not grant any accreditation. They would just leave us as is. However, our accreditation historically has always been on point. We have not had any PEG campuses listed for about 3 years. So again, based on the instruction and everything that we've been doing, we expect to continue to meet the accreditation status. We also have all of the campus improvement plans. So this TAPR report is also given to every campus. So we are uploading all of this information into our campuses' websites. So all the parents will have access to this. And then the campuses have already been presenting this information through their PTCs. Again, looking to meet their objectives for the CIPs that were approved by the board at the beginning of the year. And now, Ms. Benavides.
Thank you. Last but not least, Ms. Benavides.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of financial data, but
Oh, you
I'll
could go-
really
you
try
could go
to,
fast.
yes.
Just the highlights.
Okay. Yes, so it's going to be, and actually, it's dollars that were from 2019, 2020, because we just turned in our audit numbers from 2021. So remember, this is a year ago, more than a year ago. So it's going to be our revenues, expenditures, tax rates, and fund balance.
Okay.
There's a lot of data on this, but what I'd like to point out on this, just again comparing to the state, that we get our revenue, it's 48% local property taxes and 45% from the state. This is our state revenue that our kids' attendance generates. So I think one of the key numbers here is that on a per student basis, our revenue is $10,155 per, oh shoot. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Per student, and the state is at $10,811 per student at the very, very end. From our debt service side, and you know we have debt, we've been making a lot of new buildings. Our debt service per student is $11,329. We are very efficient the way we build. I don't know if you've seen Northside ISD and San Antonio ISD. They're passing billion-dollar bonds. But our per student debt is $11,329, while the state average is $12,511. So we're trying to be as efficient as we can with the bond money that we have. Let me just go on to the next slide, because this is a lot of data. That's a lot of data too, but just to let you know that we kind of are comparable to the state as far as how much we spend on payroll. All funds, we pay about 85% is tied up in payroll. And then I think we spend about $10,406 per student, and that's comparable to the state. So you can say that, you know, we're aligned with other school districts. We all have the same business, and it's personnel heavy. That's what we're about, right? Providing personnel services. Also, if you look at our instruction, we're at 5,673 per student. And then if you look at some key areas, what I always like to point out, because of the way how big our district is as far as miles that our transportation has to travel, you can feel it because we spend $393 per student while the state average is $297. We travel 2,400 square miles. Those buses travel every day a long way, but we provide good services to our students. And so just again, a comparable, we spend $10,406 per student, and that pretty much is the state, but of course a different breakdown of how we spend that money. On this side, it kind of is in line with Mr. Garcia, right? Because remember, it's personnel, so we spend a lot of money in basic educational services, career and technology, state compensatory, students with disability, that's our special ed money, and just the different categories, and all this is driven by the accounting staff, how they code all these expenses and how human resources codes our staff. And again, this is all generated, and then you can kind of see that we're comparable again on how the state spends a dollar. Like, let me give you an example. Students with disability, we spend $1,285 per student. The state spends $1,300 per student. So again, we see that we're kind of in line the way the state or other school districts spend their money compared to the way we spend our money. And again, it just depends on the type of students we have and the type of services we're giving to our students. This one, probably the one that catches my attention here is our tax rate. We were at 97 cents maintenance and operation and 22.88 cents for interest and sinking, a total tax rate of $1.1988. The state was a little higher at $1.2384. So we try to be as efficient as we can with our taxpayers' money and the tax rate. And then our fund balance, I know that's a key number, and here you'll see our unassigned fund balance is kind of that amount of money in our savings account that isn't committed to anything. So remember in 2020, it was $61.4 million, and it's about $1,430 per student. We were a little behind because if you look at the state, it's at $275 per student, but if you remember our audit, from this year, that 61.4 million went up to about 87 million. So we are trying to be, a little bit more cognizant of our expenditures and things of that nature. Again, I know it's a lot of dollars in these. So now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Bettis.
Oh, and that is last but not least.
Last but not least, certainly, let me just lower this microphone. Good evening, honorable board members, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Trotman, and of course, our guests this evening. Thank you. My name is Annette Bettis, Director for Discipline Management. And while children were learning at home, we may think there wasn't disciplinary infractions, but we all know that children felt very comfortable in somewhat of an unstructured environment at times. So we did have a few incidents, and we did have some children reporting to campus. We did have a very unconventional year for us as far as discipline is concerned, and we had one assault that occurred at school compared to the prior year where we had 37. Okay. So that was a very unconventional year for us. And we will and continue to support children as they come back to our schools, and we teach them structure, we teach them the expectations and appropriate behavior in our school setting in some cases. But thank you so much for being here this evening.
All right, thank you, Ms. Perez.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're back to Ms. Benavides, or
Yes.
yes?
Only because, and I know y'all know the compliance of getting federal money. And so just to let you know that based on our Title IV 21st Century Schools, Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grants, we have to have a report that supports our District Number 2 goal of a safe and nurturing environment. I'm not going to read everything that's there, but there are a couple of activities there that you can see that we support with federal money. If we have to throw in our own local money, we make sure that our goal 2 is supported. And there you'll see we want to foster safe, healthy, and supportive and drug-free environments that support student academic achievement. And we also do promote the involvement of parents in these activities. Just to go on to the next slide, here's the specific activities that come from the curriculum and instruction end, everything that CNI does on a day-to-day basis, staff development that they provide to the campuses, again, to handle student issues with safe and health, and then the parental involvement. So all this, again, because of the federal money that we receive, we want to make a report to the board. Just some evaluation summary findings. We had over 5,221 middle school and high school students who participated in a survey, a youth alcohol, tobacco, and other drug survey, and there's the results. The random drug testing, we suspended the random drug testing for the year that we had most kids in remote learning, but we're starting that up again. The on-demand drug testing kits for parents, we had 225 drug kits that were dispensed to campuses or the parents that requested these. Our ropes challenge course was suspended due to remote learning, but again, it's starting up again for this year. Our gun-free schools, no students were expelled during 2020 for bringing a firearm or handgun to school. Persistently dangerous schools, we had no campuses that were identified as persistently dangerous. And Uniting Families Initiative at STEP Academy, for the 2021 school year, 6 students completed the required sessions and received a 6-day reduction in placement. So again, this is just a summary of all those programs that you see, and where we do it in CNI and provide parent involvement. So, section 6.
Are we going back?
Thank you. And just to bring our numbers to a close, it's important for us to note that not only are we about graduation as we had this this afternoon, but also if we look at the numbers that we have here, this is from the from the higher education. They're giving us data and letting us know how our students are doing in 2- and 4-year universities. And overall, 75% of our students at their first year in a 2-year college or 4-year university are are having GPAs, overall GPAs of 2.0 or higher. So that means our students are leaving our schools well prepared for college and moving forward. And that's very important for us as we get them ready for post-secondary ed. I also want to let you know that on our website, you will see all of these reports. You'll also see the glossary, everything that we, by mandate, must have on the website. And then to close, we all know that this year has been unprecedented, very many challenges, but given the information that we presented, again, our curriculum, our delivery of instruction, all of that remains very formidable. And we are still here focusing on student growth. And so I'd like to thank the CNI department that you see here, because we're all working diligently to ensure that at the end of this year, every single one of our students that has come back shows growth in their instruction, reading, math, science, and social studies. That is our commitment to the students, to our superintendent, to our board. That's what we're here for, and that's what we will deliver. Thank you very much.
Would you have your CNI staff please stand?
CNI staff, please stand.
School District Board of Trustees, I thank you for everything that you've done. All of you have gone above and beyond the call of duty, not only your department, but teachers, staff, administration. We have, across the gamut, everybody has just gone above and beyond, and these numbers reflect that. So from us to you, congratulations and thank you.
And as I close and transfer this over to Ms. Sanchez, I'd like to say that our DEIC, our teachers are here, and absolutely, they have done a remarkable job. DEIC members, if you could stand.
Okay,
Thank you. For the record, it is 6:24, and this concludes our meeting. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
awesome. Thank you very much.
Just for the record, we had no public comments for this meeting, okay?
We have no public comments.
Not for this
Okay,
meeting.
so therefore, agenda item 1A2, closed public hearing. Let me state for the record that this public hearing is now closed. And agenda item 2, we have adjournment. This public hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.